Educator and encourager. Those are two words that describe my good friend Mickey Smith Jr., a 7-time Teacher of the Year and the recipient of a Grammy Music Educator Award. Mickey inspires children and adults alike with his motivational mixture of music and message. Mickey is not only an international keynote speaker and presenter, but he is also a full-time teacher here at the King's Academy. Mickey blends the roles of educator and entertainer to create a one-of-a-kind, dynamic experience that entertains, educates, and elevates everyone to excellence. I can say that's true even as my daughter, who's in middle school, has been blessed to learn under Mickey. No matter the challenge, Mickey encourages everyone everywhere to keep on going. And if you want to find out more about our friend Mickey, certainly reach out and talk to him. And he also has a website at mickysmithjr.com. So this morning, we're blessed to be able to hear from our colleague and friend, Mickey Smith. So I ask you to welcome him to the stage as he presents today.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes a fighter. Footsteps seem to lighter. Doesn't mean I'm over, 'cause you're gone. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, stronger. Just me, myself, and I. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone.
All right. Hey, y'all awake this morning? Y'all feeling good? It's so good to be in the place. It's so good to be in the space with you today. My name is Mickey Smith Jr., and I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to you today for being here. And honestly, if I can digress a little bit, I gotta say thank you, kind of retroactive, because last year was my first year. It's my first year here at this school, and without getting into all the details, how many of y'all been in a season or a situation where you was having a hard time seeing and trusting, and let's just be real, even believing that maybe what God's called you to do is what you've been placed to do? That's the place I found myself last year. I think about this saying that says, preach at all times and when necessary, use words. That's what I experienced last year, because it wasn't a physical touch, but there was a hug, so to speak, of love that I received when I walked on this campus. Even before I began to teach here, my family was received with love. My children were brought to new heights. And I'm telling you today, before we go any further, today it's not about a talk. It's not about a rah-rah speech. It's about the realization that what you do matters more than you realize, and oftentimes in ways that you can't really see. That's why we have to see through his eyes. So today, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's nothing special about me, but I believe that there is something significant about me because I'm his. And the truth is, there's really nothing special about any of us. Now, I know that goes against what mama said, because my mama told me I was special. I'll just be real with you. But just for a moment, let's toy with the idea that maybe mom didn't have the whole story. That the truth of the matter is, none of us are special. None of us are better than any other. But we all carry a significance today. Why do I tell you that? Because the bio, all that good stuff, the accolades, the truth of the matter is, I don't teach music. I teach children. Every day I'm reminded that what I do in that classroom, just like with you, is more than just the subject matter, but it's showing them how they matter. Let me give you an example of it. Knock, knock. I am. That's the question. That's also the answer. And I learned and continue to learn over time that when a kid walks into my classroom, watch this, they don't need me to be perfect. Thank goodness. They don't need me to be perfect. They're not looking for a perfect person, but they are looking for a purposed individual. They're looking for a sound adult. If I can just be real with you, statistically, I shouldn't even be here with you today. I came from a forgotten community, a little town. You can Google it, but you can't see it. It's called Mossville, Louisiana. And I'm going to be honest, if you try to go to it right now, it's something we call an impossibility because they bulldozed the entire town and they built a chemical plant on top of it. There's not a blade of grass left. There's not a tree stump. The school's not there. The home where I grew up and learned the lessons that were taught and that were caught sometimes from parents and loved ones, it's not there anymore. But the truth of the matter is, I didn't need the bulldozers to show up that day to understand that my community really didn't have a lot of value in the eyes of individuals. Now, why do I say that? Because I never forget when I was in 3rd grade, I went to this new school, and they were excited to see me. And then the moment I said, I'm from Mossville, I felt a shift in how the teacher looked and spoke to me. Wonderful individual. We still have a relationship to this day. I don't even think she was aware. How many of y'all know you can con a con, you can fool a fool, but you can't kid a kid? Kids got that radar. When my kids were little, sometimes I'd look to them to see if I needed to be bothered with somebody because they just got that radar, like kids and pets, right? Y'all got the little pet that bark at my man when he show up. You like, nah, you can't stay, right? Right? Kids, they're not clouded with all the concerns at certain ages. And I guess I fell into that category because there was something I sensed that showed me something before the bulldozer showed up. Why am I telling you that today? Because for every one story like that, I'm blessed. I probably got about 5 stories about individuals like Derlin Paul Ancelet. My man was a military dude. Nobody liked Mr. Ancelet, but I found myself kind of gravitating toward him. You know why? Because he looked past what he saw, and he realized something more significant about me. See, statistically, I shouldn't be here today. I was a C and D student going into middle school, 6th grade. And Derlin Paul Ancelet looked at me and said, nah, come here. We're going to get you plugged into something. Matter of fact, he got me plugged into something that wasn't even a class. It was, look, y'all don't laugh at me. It was kind of corny. It was the geography B. I told y'all don't laugh at me. Come on now. That was a big deal, like the geography B, man. And I did the geography B, and I found out that I had an ability to recall information, and I had a love and a passion for things that were outside of what I could see in other countries and other cultures. It just connected with me. I couldn't put it into words, but I knew that there was something significant about it. Fortunately, Mr. Ancelet, Corporal Ancelet, he saw something too. And despite the grades that I had, he said, no, come on over here and let's work with you. Fast forward, that little boy who had C's and D's, which, by the way, I'll never forget on the report cards. Y'all remember back in the day how they had conduct? And they put like the letters on that bad boy, like they put the N for like not satisfactory, you know, O for outstanding. I'm dating myself. How many of y'all know what I'm talking about back in the day, right? Right? So on my report card, I didn't realize this until we moved from Louisiana to Florida. I cleaned out my house and I found all this stuff. And I found this report card and it said C's and D's. N, talks too much. Disruptive. N, distracted, draws too much in class. N, disruptive, makes too much noise. But Ancelet, knowing my record, said, nah, we're not going to concern ourselves about who he's been in the past. We're going to focus this thing on the present, the gift, the precious present, now. Everybody say here and now. Come on, everybody say here and now. Here and now. 2 most powerful words in the English language. here and now. That's what Ancelet was able to pull me into. The present that was who I was in that moment. There are some kids that need to be reminded of who they are. Not who they were in the past, good or bad, but who they are now, because this is the only thing we can't get back. That's why they call it the gift. Somebody told me yesterday, it's the present. It's the present, it's the gift. He showed me that. He began to work with me. And I had never won a competition in my life. My friend Leroy Blunt, who lived across the street from me, my best friend, his dad would take him fishing, and one day Leroy won a fishing trophy. And I'm going to be honest, I know we saved, but look, I was jealous. I know it was a sin. Back in the day, I didn't know, but I wanted that trophy. I was like, man, I want a trophy. And I remember writing that down that I wanted a trophy one day. Well, fast forward, I ended up winning the 6th grade geography bee championship. But I ended up losing to the 8th grader. So I just kept going at it. I kept going at it. And I'm here today to tell you that sometimes the promise is in your perseverance. And for me, my ability to keep working on it put me in a position to where in 8th grade, I won the school geography championship, which then allowed me to do something that was maybe not a big deal to you, but from a little fella from a little town that nobody's even heard of, it was a big deal. I went to college. I went to Louisiana State University. See, you got to understand, in the neighborhood I grew up in, nobody went to college. Nobody talked about college unless it was a sporting event. Like, in my ignorance, I honestly thought colleges were like semi-pro leagues. I didn't even know about, nobody was learning anything there. I just thought they played football games and basketball games. So imagine my amazement when I went to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I pulled onto that beautiful, beautiful campus, and I saw it was larger than life. The campus itself was bigger than the community I grew up in. Definitely had more people. And here I am, and I'm there the first time I had ever went to college. Do you understand that sparked something? That piqued something in my spirit and my mind. Teach at all times, but when necessary, use words. What we do is more than teach, we reach. What we do is more than instruct, we inspire. That's why I say it can't just be about the subject matter. It's about showing them how they matter. That's what Derlin Paul did for me. Why am I telling you about him today? Because 2 years after him meeting me, I went from being a C and D student to being the student of the year for my school. 4 years later, I went to be Mr. Westlake at my high school. I went on to be the first male in my family to graduate from high school, first in my family to go to college, and now I hold multiple degrees. I've since then been named a 7-time Teacher of the Year and a National Grammy Music Educator Award recipient. And I don't say any of that to impress you, but to impress upon you that now I get paid too much to talk too much. I get paid too much to make too much noise. And as an award-winning author and illustrator, I get paid now to draw too much. I'm not trying to be petty today. All I'm saying is I had somebody in my life, a sound adult, who was able to see my sound. I need you to look to the person next to you. Yeah, I went to one of them churches. I'm going to say it. Look at the person next to you. Ask the person next to you, say, what's your sound? Okay, ask the other person, say, what's your sound? Don't get nervous. Look, I'm telling you today that we all have a sound. And every child that comes into our room, our duty is to help them see that sound above anything else. Now listen, I'm not talking about the audible sound. I'm talking about the internal significance that each one of us carries that makes a significant difference in this thing called life. That's why I say you do more than teach, you reach. I'm here today to tell you today that what we have can't even be quantified. It's immeasurable. Do me a favor. Close your eyes. And I want you to think on and imagine back to your favorite teacher. You can open your eyes. I love it. I wish I had a camera like right here. I wish I had one. Because it's amazing, without fail, when I asked you, when I challenged you to think back, to put your mind's eye on that individual, the countenance of your face changed. I saw people relax. I saw smiles. I saw a little bit and heard a little bit of laughter. See, when you thought about that individual, not one of you thought about a lesson plan first. Not one of you thought about a benchmark, a standard, an IEP, a 504, or any other combination of numbers or letters. What you thought about was the way that person made you feel when you were in their presence. You thought about the way you felt about yourself, as well as what you thought about them. This is why I say that it's not our duty or our job to put the focus on perfection. It's about being purposed in this season. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to answer the call. That's all you have to do every day. Why? Because the truth of the matter is, this thing ain't a solo. See, today, if I can be real with you, I'm not speaking to an audience. Because in front of me are individuals who each and every one of you has a personal, unique sound. And by understanding that each individual is significant all on their own, today, I'm not speaking to an audience as much as I'm conducting a symphony. See, life is better when we band together. And that's not just because I'm the band director. I believe that. Life's better when we bring our sounds together. As great as an individual is, and each and one of these powerful praise and worship team members that mount at this stage are amazing in and of their own right. Do you understand how much more powerful they are when they bring their sounds together? See, today, I need you not to do what I did. Can I be real with you? Dr. Raines, I'm going to be real. When I stepped on the campus, it was a little intimidating. Oh, how many new teachers we got out there? Anybody new to the campus? Okay, good. Y'all show some love to the new teachers. Yeah. I've said it before, statistically, I shouldn't be here. I was teaching and I was happy down in the Bayou State. They got good food. They got good people. I mean, there was no reason to leave. I'm going to be real with you. But then watch this. I heard the sound. And sometimes, as the book said, it's not always a thunder or an earthquake. Sometimes it's a whisper. And I understood that there was a move that was getting ready to take place. I'm going to be honest, I didn't share it with my wife because she was happy too. She liked the food too in Louisiana. But I'll never forget that an opportunity, a door was open for us to move to South Florida. We decided to come and check it out. I actually turned down the offer because my daughter was going into her senior year. And what kind of a monster moves his daughter their senior year? So I said, no, I can't do it. My daughter's been too good of a kid. We're not going to do this. We come back. The individuals I was speaking to said, well, could we have you come back? What if your daughter saw it? I was like, I guess maybe that would help. She said, well, come on back. I'm like, really? Really? So we came back and we checked it out again. The place I was at didn't go to 12th grade. I said, well, what can we do for my daughter? They said, now watch this. Testimony. Reputation precedes. The Word of God says your gift makes room for you, brings you before kings and queens. And what I'm telling you today is who you are isn't as important as whose you are, who you represent. Reputation precedes. At another institution, when asked, where could my daughter go, their answer was, have you considered the King's Academy? That's competition, y'all. They said King's Academy. I said, no, I ain't never heard of King's Academy. They said, well, you'd like it. And watch this. They said, just from talking with you, we feel like you'd probably connect with what they're doing over there. I was like, wow, okay. So we went over here. My daughter had no intention of moving. She walked onto the campus. She looked. She talked to a few people. We got back in the car. She said, okay, I want to move. She said, Dad, it's like High School Musical. Like, this place is beautiful. I said, baby, you ain't lying. I ain't never seen a school like this. So then began the process. We moved. And watch this. When we left, I told you, and I'm not saying this to brag, just to share my testimony. Why? Because the word says we're encouraged by the words of our testimony. So I share this with you because nothing was wrong. How do you leave something good for something that's not understood? Everybody say trust. It's trust. It's trust. We let everybody know we were moving. Y'all, it was the lead story on the 6 o'clock news. Small town. It was on the front page of the Sunday paper. I just answered a few questions thinking it was just talking to some friends, and it ended up being the lead news story. Now, why am I telling you that? Because in the story, I had to speak the truth. See, in the story, they said, Mickey, do you have a job? And the answer was yes. They said, do your children have places to go? Does your wife have a job? Can I be real with y'all? The actual answer to that was no, but when we talk in faith, I told him, yes, my wife has an amazing job. My children have been accepted into institutions. My daughter is going to this place called the King's Academy. I'm going to be real with y'all. I had received no notification that my daughter was coming to the King's Academy. But I heard the sound. I knew, like they say when I was a kid growing up, sometimes you know that you know that you know that you know that you know. I knew that sound that I heard. So we got in the car, packed up our bags, like the Beverly Hillbillies. Y'all, South Florida is much different than South Louisiana. I'm going to just say right now. Very different, right? So we pack up. My wife, oh boy, don't tell her I said this. My wife was beside herself because we literally packed up everything that was working for something we can't see. I did a talk to a group of teachers, and that was the last thing I did in Louisiana. And we hopped in the truck and we drove. My sister helped. She drove my wife's vehicle behind us, and we took off to South Florida. My wife, she crying like the whole way. What are we doing? I said, I don't know. But he does. And I'm going to be real with you, that's not even me. I'm like the guy, I measure twice, cut once type dude. Probably measure 3 times. But when you know, it's different. We get to Mobile, Alabama. What I didn't tell my wife was that I had done some research on the King's Academy, and I didn't realize until after I did my research that you just can't just join in. You have to be accepted. We didn't have these type of schools back in Louisiana. Now I'm like, has anybody ever done something and the doubt and the faith, the doubt kind of seeps in, it starts to creep in? I was like, what have I done? But I hear these words, God is faithful. If you ever hear me say that, look, can I just be real with y'all today? Look, we like Olive Garden. We family at this point, right? If you ever hear me say God is faithful, just pray for me. Because that's really code for, oh no, what's going on? But I know there's somebody who's got it all in control. We get to Mobile. We wake up that morning, I pray, we hop in the vehicle. As soon as we take off, I get an email. Your daughter's been accepted to the King's Academy. I get an email, your son's been accepted. We get a phone call, all in the span of about 30 minutes. A school called that wanted to interview my wife. Now my wife crying again, but it's different. It's got the joy to it, right? The tears of joy. We get all the way down here. And I'm telling you this for a reason. My daughter had so much doubt about who she was and who she could be. And then she stepped onto this campus, and there were these arms of love that just wrapped her up, supported her, lifted her up, spoken to her. How many of y'all know it takes a village to raise a child? Now, some of y'all like, Mickey, you didn't need a village. Look at you. You've got a snazzy red jacket and a great hat and fantastic personality. Your children love you. Do you know my children they don't think I know anything. Like, anybody got kids out there like that? They literally don't think I know anything. One day, my daughter asked a little girl who was last chair in the band about music. The little girl said, didn't your dad win a Grammy? She was like, yeah, but he's just my dad. That's how my daughter sees me. So when I tell you, thank you, King's Academy, because there were so many things that you reinforced and supported that as proud parents, as we sat there, we could have never imagined that what we were doing wasn't to set her back, but it was actually put her in a position to be set up for success. You couldn't have scripted it. Baby girl got to school. She made connections. At the end of the year, she ended up giving the commencement address. I could have never, that's something that would have never happened back at home. She even found her gift. In Louisiana, look, and again, we family, so it's kind of personal right now. Back in Louisiana, my daughter had a drug problem. She got drugged to all the gigs we would take her to. She didn't want to go. She couldn't stand singing. She said, "Ooh, that's old people music, Daddy." Oh, I got to sing again? Fast forward. God bless Westlow. Hey, show some love for Mr. Lowe, everybody. Show some love. It takes the village. He's heard Michaela and basically voluntold her to come sing with the jazz band. Do you know how crazy it is for you to be born and living in the birthplace of jazz, but you got to move to South Florida for your child to see the light? Why am I telling you all this super, super personal stuff that I didn't plan on sharing with you today? Because I need you to understand that what you do is more than teach. That little girl called me yesterday and shared with me, "Dad, I'm walking in my purpose now." She goes to school at the very institution we had never heard of before, a place that sent us a postcard about 4 years ago, and they would just send us these postcards. And we looked and we laughed. We were like, Palm Beach, Atlantic. West Palm Beach, that's funny. We're never going to West Palm Beach, and we throw it in the trash because we were in Southwest Louisiana. But how many of you know sometimes there's more than what you can see? Lily Mae Smith taught me that. That was my grandmother, born in 1910. She was stern and firm. That's how she described herself. Have you ever met somebody, when you ask them about themselves, they say, "I'm stern and I'm firm." And she said it just like that, whatever that is, right? If you cut that woman's grass with a push lawnmower, it was self-propelled. I had to push it. You cut that grass, at the end of it, she say, "Here's $1.25. Y'all, I'm not that old. I'm just saying. My friends were getting like $40. This woman gave me $1.25, right? And put some sass on that quarter too, right? If you'd ask her for a stick of gum, we drive into the gas station. We say, "Grandmother, can I have a stick of gum?" Because you had to call her grandmother. You couldn't call her grandma. That was too informal. It was grandmother. She was stern. She wasn't a milk and cookies kind of grandma. I'm going to tell you that right now. We say, "Grandmother, can we have a stick of gum?" She'd say, "Here's half now, and you might get half later." I say, how cheap you got to be to give somebody a half stick of gum? And look, it wasn't even a good gum. It was Freedent. It didn't have no sugar because she had no teeth. Like it was you can't give me the whole stick. That woman, sometimes I'd be outside playing my saxophone, or I'm inside playing a game, or I'm shooting basketball, because that was my career plan at the time. I was going to the NBA. That was the game plan, right? She'd say, "Hey, come here. Come get my pocketbook." Now, we're in South Florida, so for my sophisticated people, that's just a country colloquialism for a big purse. That's what, and it wasn't like a Louis Vuitton. It wasn't that kind of, it was just a big purse for no reason. She'd say, "Come get my pocketbook. It's in the kitchen." So I'd go in, I'd look. But I'm a kid, y'all, and I'm looking. I don't really see it. And I come back and I tell grandmother, I say, "Grandmother, it's not in there. The pocketbook's not there." She'd say, "Little boy, if I get up with my rheumatoid arthritis, and if I go in that kitchen, it's going to be me." Somebody was there. Did y'all hear that? We're gonna set up a counseling session for us. We're going to do a support group. I can't see you, but I feel it. She say, If I get up and go in that kitchen, it's going to be me and you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was not the type of inclusivity that we celebrate today. I'm going to tell you that right now. She got up, and don't let the hobble fool you. She was strong. Do you know she went right in that kitchen? And guess what she found? She found that pocketbook. I say, what kind of magic is this woman working with? I'm not going to tell you what happened next because it's 2023 and y'all don't want any charges pressed on grandma. But I'm just saying, it was a different age back then. I laugh and I joke about that with folks, but I tell you that for this reason. One of the most powerful lessons I could have learned. Because I realized in that moment that sometimes it's about perspective, y'all. If our focus is off, we can be so busy looking that we ain't seeing. I'm telling you this today because the perspective, I am who? The perspective, the significance that you bring, that you've been called to bring. The idea that we're blessed to be a blessing. That's the thing that resonated. I'm telling you today, the sound we're talking about may not be audible, but it has the capacity to resonate. So much so that another school, when asked, would say, have you considered the King's Academy? King's Academy is not a campus, it's not a building. It's a sound. It's a significance that you bring. But I need you not only to have the perspective, but watch this. I need you to have the perseverance. See that grandmother that I spoke of, Lily Mae Smith? She's the same woman who went out and spent $400 on an old beat-up saxophone. The same woman that wouldn't give me a stick of gum bought me a saxophone. And when she did it, watch this, when she gave it to me, she handed it to me, she said, "This is what I'm supposed to do." I ain't found that Hallmark card yet. I'm just saying. Me and my wife just celebrated our 20th. I promise you, if I'd have rolled into the house with a card that said, "This is what I'm supposed to do," it wouldn't have been. It just wouldn't have been. Fellas, don't do that. I'm just saying. I'll never forget that. She said, "This is what I'm supposed to do." Well, I mean, I'm a kid. I ain't really care. I just got the horn up and put it together the best I could. And I'll never forget, I played my first sound. My first sound on the sax, y'all, was amazing. I put that horn to my lips. Okay, it was amazingly terrible. I didn't tell the whole story. How many of y'all got kids that's been in bands before? I heard y'all laughing. Y'all knew before it started. You're like, wait a minute, what was he working with that we didn't have? Nah, all men created equal. Some just work hard in the practice room, right? So I messed up, but I'll never forget. My mom comes to me. She says, "Son, I see something special in you. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know this. If you keep on going, you'll be successful." That's my mom. Let me give a little bit more context to my mom, too. See, when my mom said that, she walked over to the front door and opened it. And she said, "Son, I see something special in you. I don't know what it is, but I know this. If you keep on going," take that noise out this house. "If you keep on going, you'll be successful." My mama kicked me out the house, y'all. But I get it now. I get it. I've had 2 kids come in band, and I'm a band director, and I have invited them to take their concert to a different place now. I get it. So I go outside. I go to the front door near the steps. I go to make that sound. Mama opened up the door. She said, "Son, keep on going." I said, "Mama, that's the driveway." She said, "I know. Go." So I go down the steps. I go down the driveway. I get all the way to the end of the driveway. I go to make that sound. I didn't even get the horn to my lips. My mom sticks her head out the window. She says, "Hey, keep on going." I say, "Mama, that's the woods across the street." She said, "I know, boy. Go, go, go." So I go across the street into the woods. Now, I'm telling you this because things are different now in 2023. But back in the day, if you were a band kid, it was highly unlikely that you was probably going to get homecoming king. Like you just, you know what I'm saying? Like you wasn't that guy. You wasn't Mr. Popularity. Do you understand how hard it is to stay socially significant when you're the kid in band, but you're the weird kid that plays in the woods across the street? There's probably some untreated trauma that's in here somewhere. I'm telling you, there's probably something wrong. But I'm grateful for that season because I read the book and it tells me that my man David, he had to encourage himself. And I understand now as educators, there's been times where I felt that I was in the proverbial wilderness, that I was in a situation that looked nothing like what I anticipated. And I learned something in that woods, in the forest, that I want to share with you today. When I point to you, I want you to shout back, keep on going. See, let's try it real quick. Ready, go. Okay, good. See, because every time I play, I didn't get it's not what I expected, so I had to remind myself to what? Oh, man, but I tried it twice. How many of us had a student that told us that? I tried it twice, but you got to do what? Third time ain't a charm. Blessings. Why y'all wasn't in the woods back then? Nobody was clapping back then. We needed some encouragement. How many of you been in a situation where you needed some encouragement sometimes? I appreciate the applause. Today, I want what we're sharing here to be just that for you. Because you have to understand there's more to what you see than what you're looking at this year. See, when I was in the woods, I thought it was a season of isolation when Mama said, keep on going. But what I understood as time went on, and as I kept on going, I understood it's very much like Galatians 6:9 that says, if you just don't give up, don't get weary in your well-doing. Why? Because in due season, what? You'll reap a reward, you'll reap a harvest if you faint not. See, faint not, that's the King James Version for keep on going. See, I understood now, looking back on that season of isolation was just an opportunity for elevation. Keep on going. And with every step I took, it provided me the opportunity to now stand on a stage of celebration. I had no idea that seemingly insignificant sound that I made would be the steps that wouldn't just carry me to the woods next to the gully, but would take me from the gully all the way to the Grammys. Statistically, I shouldn't be here today. Statistically, there's some students that you have that shouldn't be, but they are. My question today is, will you be the sound adult to help bring change to their life, which ultimately brings change to our world? Every child is one sound adult away from discovering their own sound of success. That's who we are to them. That's who we can be. We are their best hope. I share that with you today because you have to understand we all have a sound. If I can be honest with you, when I teach, more days than not, I feel like an absolute failure. Because there's an expectation, or maybe I'm just different, but I go in sometime with that expectation. And sometimes the scenario and the situation doesn't always meet the expectation that I set in my mind. But I'm here today to tell you that you can make failures, just as long as you don't make the fail yours. Understanding that the failure is like those steps. It's just a process to the promise. And the sweet thing about the promise is that I'm a living testament. I could have never imagined that I'd be with you today. Because according to my expectation, I should be eating some gumbo and some boudin back in Louisiana right now. But God had something different for me. And I'm so glad about it. Do I miss family and friends? Sure. But to look at my children and see them thrive and flourish, I count it all joy. That's why I say thank you to you today. Whether you've been here for years or whether this is your first year, you're a part of this symphony this band, this ensemble, brothers and sisters, coming together to create a sound that resonates and captivates students in a way that makes them want to be more, to be the difference. You do more than teach. We reach. You do more than instruct. You inspire. But you have to know your sound. I hear a sound in everything that I do, even the lessons that fail. I see a sound because sometimes there's some unexpected outcomes that happen. Matter of fact, I hear sounds, I see teachable moments in everything we do. Even my daughter sometimes says, "Dad, is this another lesson?" I said, "It sure is. It's called life. It's full of them." I heard the sound when I drove to work today, and my tires were boom, 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 boom. I heard the sound. I heard the rhythm. When my kids were little and they would run through the house, I'd hear the sound in their footsteps. I can hear a sound even when we're talking. I hear a sound. There's a sound that you carry, even when we're talking. Even when we're talking. Can you hear the sound? Even when we're talking. Let me hear you say it. Even when. Let me hear you. Give yourselves a hand. That's all right. Hey, and you know what's funny? If I would have asked somebody to sing, some of us would say, I can't sing. I can't play anything but the radio. But what I did today with you just now was very complex. But did it feel complex at any point in time? No. See, what you bring is big. But to you, it may not seem like much. But to those that you're charged over in that classroom, the audience, so to speak, that is your students, that sound that you create becomes something more than a lesson. It becomes an experience. And when I do my class, I'm gonna tell you my secret. I don't really have a class per se. I don't have a band class. I don't have a music class. I have a music experience. Because a lesson lasts for a day or a year, but an experience lasts for a lifetime. How do I know? Because when you closed your eyes and thought of that individual, you thought about the shared experience you had with them. That's the opportunity we get to share with our students. So today, look, you know I'm a teacher, so I'm going to give you something. I didn't want to come to just give you a rah-rah speech today. I want to give you something applicable. Something practical that you can use. And something that's not one more thing to add to the plate, but something that's a part of the plate. Because as I travel across the country, I find teachers are in need of PD, but it's not professional development as much as it is personal development. Because what we do is so personal. And at an institution such as this, it's highly personal because it's an extension of who we are. Because it's an extension of who He is. It's an extension of our faith. And at the end of the day, even Jesus Himself had to take time away to fill His cup. We can't pour out without finding ways to pour into us daily. So if I could be so bold to share, in my humble opinion, some things that have helped me and have helped carry me in a season of uncertainty. Being in a place where I didn't know people's name. My goodness, I didn't even know the street names. I'm starting to wean myself from GPS. I can finally start doing it now. But there were so many times where I just sat in my room, and sometimes you just want to go where everybody knows your name. Well, they're always glad you came, right? You want to be with people. Troubles are all the same, right? Right? You want to be back. You want to be back in a place where you feel you belong. Well, the truth is, this year, as I got ready to come to this stage, it hit me. For the first time in quite a while, I feel like I'm where I belong. And that didn't come by happenstance, but it came by habit stacks. Small things done well, stacked on top of each other over time. And I want to share with you some personal habit stacks that I do every day to make sure that I'm the best version of me that I can be for these young people. Because if it was about information, they could just Google it. I hate to break it to you. If there's something they really, really want to know, they can just YouTube it. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. And we're the ones that can inspire them to apply it in the proper way. But it only comes when trust is at the center of it all. Why is trust so important? Because a classroom that's built on trust, if that's the foundation, you can build as high as you can imagine. But when there's no trust, it doesn't work. I've gone into classrooms on the first day where the teachers are giving out information, not at the King's Academy, but those other places. They're just giving out information, right? And at the end of the day, nobody really likes a know-it-all. But when you open with trust, trust becomes the door that leads to relationship. And from relationship comes influence. And then from influence comes instruction. How do I know this? Because of Instagram. I've watched kids lose an entire day following what? Influencers. We don't teach, we what? Reach. That's your primary objective in these first few days. To make a classroom that reaches out with arms of love and welcomes, just as those classrooms did for my daughter and now are doing for my son. That makes the experience one that when those children close their eyes, they know that they're loved, they're valued, and wanted. It starts with trust. Will you be that sound to change their world? Sound is an acronym. I'll give you these and I'll get out your way. Sound, S-O-U-N-D. Every day I wake up, I make a point to do a self-sound check. See, nothing's put on a stage that wasn't perfected in a practice room. There's steps to get up to the stage, both figuratively and literally. One of the steps we took prior to you guys getting here today, matter of fact, even yesterday, we did a sound check. Why? To make sure that the sounds were coming through properly. See, you can't prepare for 2023 in 2023. The Bible says, what type of man would build a building without first what? Counting the cost. So if we give that attention to detail to an inanimate object or to a building, how much more should we give to our temple that was crafted by God himself? I believe we owe it to ourselves to take some time at the start of each day to recognize the sound, the significance that we bring. Why? Because there comes a point when you get to school that it's no longer about you. Matter of fact, if you're in the fraternity called parent, sometimes you goes by the wayside before you even get to school. For me, I'm gonna be honest, I got a good 15 minutes before my life is not my own. So that precious first 15, I do a few things. I reflect back and I look forward to make sure that I'm in the here and the now. S stands for see yourself beyond yourself. What I do is I write down what's something that I can do to see myself beyond myself. Everybody say, be available. Be available. What can I do to be available to others? To be generous with my time, my talent, and my treasure. Generosity is our privilege. It's our opportunity to serve. So I write that down. And watch this. It ain't deep. Sometimes it might be, I'm going to pay for somebody's iced tea behind me at Chick-fil-A. Sometimes it might be, I'm going to do something for a colleague that I know needs something. I'm going to bring them, somebody brought me some cookies today. That blessed me. That took time. That individual had to take time out of their self to think about me. And guess what? It inspired me to get my eyes off of myself to think about we. That's the power of perspective. See yourself beyond yourself. Next thing is, operate in optimism and excellence. Oh, he one of those. Fake it till you make it. Toxic positivity. Nah. No, it's not fake it till you make it. Oh, okay, we're at the King's Academy. It's faith it till you make it. I get it. I'm going to go ahead and say this. Nah, there's something greater. Ooh, boy, if Lily Mae was here, she'd take out the switch. I'm telling you, she was old school. What you mean there's something? There ain't nothing greater than faith it till you make it. I'll double down on it. I believe there is something greater than faith it till you make it. I believe there's something called face it till you make it. Why? Because if I have the faith and I understand, that very Bible tells me that what's in me, what's been placed in me, is greater than anything that can come against me. That's why we say in this season, be strong and be of courage. Why? Because you already got everything it takes to win. At this point, it ain't even the enemy. Sometimes it's the enemy that I have to fight. And I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes I've talked myself out of the very blessings that were already in place for me. Oftentimes we pray because we believe that he's got to work out the destination. He doesn't have to work out the destination. He's working you out for the destination. I need you to operate in the optimism and the excellence that comes from knowing not just who you are, but whose you are. That's the King's Academy advantage. It took me a while to embrace that because I've been institutionalized. I've taught public school for a long time. It took me about 3 months to realize, I can really pray at the start of class. I can pray over these children. I can pray over myself. I can do it openly. It took a little while to do that. But I'll tell you this, the moment I let go and I let God, my classroom continued to transform in ways I could have never imagined. Operate in optimism and excellence. It just means be authentic. That's what I love about being here. I can be unapologetically me. We can be unapologetically ourselves. Be authentic today and ask yourself, I am who? Who am I in him? You is utilize all available resources. I told you we moved from Louisiana. I've never been so angry in my life when we moved to Louisiana because I found 8 jars of peanut butter. See, we were packing up the house, and I realized between the peanut butter and other things, there were things we kept buying multiples of. Has anybody ever bought something, put it in the shelf, and forgot about it, and then bought like 4, 5, 6 more times? We had 8, maybe even 9 jars of peanut, and like the big jars, not like the small ones. And I'm thinking, wow, I looked at that, and it made me so upset because it made me question, what else have I been spending my currency, time, and money on that I already had? I love cleaning out my classroom at the end of the year. Don't judge me, I know. I love cleaning it out because what I find is that every year there's a resource I run across that I had not utilized fully. And it kind of gets me geeked up to come back the next year. Okay, let's put this into practice. I'm telling you today, there's more to who you are and what you do than what you're seeing right now. Do me a favor, look again for the first time and find those resources that are available that can help you maximize and elevate your ability to engage, educate, and instruct those students. Everything we need is in the house. Everything we need is already in the house. And lastly, and don't worry, I know I said lastly, I can spell and I can count. I'm from Louisiana. I know there's one more, but just stay with me. Lastly, nourish relationships. Nourish relationships. If see yourself beyond yourself was be available, and if operate in optimism and excellence was be authentic, and if utilize all available resources, well, I didn't tell you, but it's be active, then nourish relationships is be and. Be and. Be together, or as I like to say, put it together, band. Life is better, what? When we band together. See, if I came to you right now and I said, ooh, it's on, you talked about my mama, we throwing down at the playground. This would not really threaten anybody. We would not be moved to consider anything other than, that's a little creepy, is he gonna tickle me? You know? But when I take those same 5 fingers and I bring them together, much like this powerful worship group brought their collective sounds together, it becomes what? More impactful. I'm here today to tell you that life is better when we band together. Look around. If every one person in this room had a solution, and you do, by the way, if every one person had a solution, we've got enough solutions to last us for years to come. But in this season, now more than ever, we have to come together. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It's not just on Sunday. It's every day we get that opportunity. D, after I write down all these things that I'm going to do, I'm now in a position to do what Mama said. Don't stop. Keep on going. My ability to invest in who I am provides a stage and an opportunity for them to see who they can be. Because what I do is not just about the subject matter. It's about something so much more. It's about showing them that they matter. That's what we get to do every day. I learned that years ago teaching. There was a little girl I taught in a class, and she was that student that you love to see come to class. I'm not saying that there's students we don't love to see come to class. I'm just saying she was that student that you love to see come to class. And she would always come in with so much energy, but it was appropriate, and she just was really classy, just sweet little girl. And this is middle school, y'all. Do you know how rare a commodity that is in middle school? Well, one day I'm standing by the door, because I always meet my students at the door. You know, I give them the fist bump. I don't shake middle school boys' hands. I'd give them the fist bump. I'm not going to go into detail with that. Yeah, so I'd say, welcome to the band hall. Okay, good to see you. Welcome to the band where all your dreams come true. You know, whatever, just something ridiculous. And when she was supposed to be there, I didn't see her. I said, this is strange. She's normally like the first or second one. I looked. After a while, I saw her way in the distance. I said, hey, I see you. She had her head hung low. And this is back in the day where I could do some stuff. Oh, I can't do that anymore. I got down on my knee. I said, hey, Miss Jones, I see you. Put a smile on your face. She looked up. She smiled a little bit. And she walked into the classroom. And we just had a very routine, uneventful, normal day. Can I be real with y'all? Like, every day is not amazing in my class, or at least I don't think it is. Some days there's just routine. And that was one of those routine days. About 4 years later, I was in a situation where I gave up. I had decided this is not for me. My grandmother used to say all the time, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. I don't even know if that's a scripture, but she like made it one. It was like Lily made 3:16. Like, I don't even know if it was real. And it was true that day because on that day, I'll never forget, the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade all took field trips, and they forgot the enrichment teachers. It was the one time we were so grateful to be forgotten. Like, everybody left, and it was just us. We were just hanging out and chilling. So I had decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do something really, really wild and controversial. I'm going to take a lunch break. Right? So I left, and I went home because, full transparency, we just didn't have a lot at the time, and I couldn't even afford to go out and eat out. So I went home. We lived right by the school. And that was one of the things that was challenging me because I wasn't making the type of impact financially, personally, professionally that I thought that I expected to make. And I said to myself, I'm going to go do something else. I sit down at the dining room table, and I checked the mail before I got into the house. And something said, open up the letters. I took the letters, I looked at them, and I realized I had 3 handwritten letters, which is rare these days to get handwritten letters. And it wasn't like that junk mail that tries to trick you into thinking it's handwritten. I hate that stuff, right? It was like real handwritten letters. So I open it up, and I find that there's a 12th grade English teacher, fellow believer too, by the way, who makes it her assignment to tell her students to think of the one most impactful individual in their school career experience, pre-K all the way to 12th grade, teacher, custodian, cafeteria worker, bus driver, administrator, whatever, run the gamut, whatever. One person. 3 students wrote me a letter. Now, here's the craziest part for me. Not one of those 3 students continued with band. You would have thought that when she did that assignment, that it would be just a bunch of band kids that would have wrote letters. All three of those students were students who elected to do something else, but when asked what was the most significant part of their school experience, they said, "My time with Mr. Smith." I read the letters, and I'm not going to go into detail with them all, but I will say one of them was from a young lady, the little girl I spoke about earlier. She said, "Mr. Smith, you were always so kind. Your class was always fun. You pushed us. You were tough on us, but it was always done with love." And I'm like, "Oh, that's sweet." She then goes on to say, "I don't know if you know this or not, but in 8th grade, I was struggling." How many of y'all know suicide is the second leading cause of death in our young people? I didn't know that until after I read this letter. She said, "In 8th grade, I was struggling." She said, "Mr. Smith, there was one day I'll never forget. I was coming late to your class. On that day, I felt worthless. I felt I had no value." She said, "I felt invisible. And on the day that I felt invisible, you said, 'I see you.'" I have never said, "I see you" before or after that moment. I don't even know why I said it in that moment other than I was led to by something greater. She said, even after that moment, when I would go to high school and I thought to myself, nobody would miss me, nobody would care, I'd always think, nope, Mr. Smith would. He said, "I see you." This thing is bigger than a lesson, y'all. It's bigger than a classroom. We're talking about the lives and the futures of everything that's great. She went on to say a few more things that I'm not going to share because I don't want to cry. But I did cry that day. And then I don't like crying, so that made me mad. Anybody ever cry and they get mad that they're crying, right? I just came home for lunch. This girl got me out here crying on the letter, man. And I'm crying. I done cried all over the letter. I done messed up the letter now. And finally, that letter of resignation that I went home and begun writing, I tore up. And I kept her letter. I had no idea that just a few short years later, that validation, that sense of purpose or significance that I had been longing for in the profession would be granted to me. That I'd be on national TV holding the hand of Alicia Keys. And out of everything that she could have said in that moment, she said, "We need you." People get excited and stuff, especially guys I talk to. "Oh, Alicia Keys." I'm like, whatever, it's cool. My wife was there. That's who I was with. But I say this for this reason. It was a great honor. But I believed in that moment she was a vehicle to pass on the message that I needed to hear. And that is, we need you. I'm here today to tell you we need you too. I shared that story at a place, and a woman came up to me and she said, ooh, that was a good story, but you don't get it. I say, "Chick, who are you? Like, what in the world? What?" She say, "That was a good story, but you don't get it." I said, "It's my story. How don't I get it?" She said, "I'm going to explain it." She said, when that little girl was at her lowest, your words, "I see you," was everything she needed to keep on going. Little did you know that 4 years later, when you'd be at your lowest, her words in the form of that letter would come back to be everything you needed to keep on going. I told her, I said, "Yeah, I didn't get it, but I get it now. And my hope and prayer today is that you get it. That in this thing called life, there's faith, there's hope, and there's love. But the greatest of these is what? Love. You want to know the secret to success in the classroom? It resides in your ability to see these students through a lens of love, to speak through them with a sound of love, and to create an atmosphere of love that helps them transcend the noise that they're being inundated with in our society. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be purposed. And if you do that, then you'll speak a message that says more than anything, "Child, I will always love you." I believe that because that's the gospel. And this next song I want to share with you, this last song I want to share with you, I believe is the gospel message. Now, Mr. Martin, I got to be honest with you, it is not a gospel song. But I believe it is the gospel song. Because the opening lyrics of it, I've always seen as a picture of Christ. It says, if I should stay, I would only get in the way. But I'll go and I'll think of you every step of the way. And then the lyrics go on to say something that only one person I can think of can say, because our thing called love is conditional. You do right by me, I do right by you. But this individual says, and I will always love you. And I believe that that message of love is what the world needs now more than ever. And love has been perverted and it's been manipulated. But I believe it comes down to a body of believers that can recognize, that can look at love again and see it for what it is, and then share it in a powerful way with these students so that they then go out and be the hands and the feet of love itself. So today, my message to you is simple. I will always love you. Thank you so much. Continue to make your classrooms epic this year. Make them sound. And follow him in everything that you do. I pray his face shines upon you and that this will be the best year you've had yet. Once again, my name is Mickey Smith Jr. It's an honor to serve with you at the King's Academy. Thank you.